What's up, everyone? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Bonus Point Podcast Super Rugby Series. Both respective competitions in Super Rugby have now crowned champions, and we are now heading into the first week of the Trans-Tasman action. So before we get too excited and head too far down the road, we do have to break down everything that happened over the weekend in the two finals matchups. And I'm glad I can do that with my two favorite guys, Tavita Halafia and James Tesserero. Guys, because there is only two matches over the weekend, I'm not really going to direct questions towards you guys. I'm just going to leave it as an open forum today. So first off, what did you guys think of the footy over the weekend? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? What was it?
I dislike the Chiefs game. I like the Reds game.
Very, very straight to the point. James, what do you reckon?
Mate, I loved it. It was 4 consecutive hours of finals footy, and that's me in my happy place, mate. Just relaxing in front of a beer and watching two very, very high quality matches. Couldn't have enjoyed it more.
Oh, man, it was great. So, yeah, well, with that in mind, let's get stuck in and we'll talk about the first game, which is the one that Hulla and I both hated, the Chiefs versus the Crusaders. So I've had a bit of time to breathe and calm down and take a look at this game again a bit objectively. Well, I'll say probably 20% objectively. But for me, the Chiefs loss came down to two things. It was Damien McKenzie having an uncharacteristically bad night on the kicking tee. He left 12 points off the board. And I think the other thing was the leadership decisions at crunch time. So I really believe the leadership was the bigger issue of the two, because you could argue up until this game, D-Mac has been ice cold all season when it came to those kicks. You put him up, he slots them. But to not back your line out, which has been your most successful try-scoring weapon all year at 33%, with the Crusaders down 2 players from yellow cards, and you had also just subbed on one of your strongest line-out weapons to fix your line-out after the first 20 minutes, which were pretty abysmal because you had a lock that was quite short. I feel like it was extremely stupid not to back yourself in your gameplay. So I want to hear what you guys think. What was the reason the Chiefs lost this match?
This is where James gets to say, I told you so.
I pretty much called exactly this, didn't I? The Crusaders, there's no way to win. They close out matches a little bit better. They're match managers. They're 9, 10, 12, kind of control the game, make good decisions, put the ball in the right areas, make good decisions in those areas. All the things we expected out of the Crusaders we saw. It was unfortunate to see McKenzie go cold from the kicking tee, because his clutch goal kicking put them into this position. Every Chiefs fan will understand that and probably give him a bit of a pass. But the missed goals, especially when they were winning 15-10, and they had a couple of opportunities to stretch the lead out past to try. That little stretch where he missed those goals, I think, changed the game and probably was the deciding factor.
Yep. Hello, do you agree that it was the kicking that was the main thing that let them down?
Well, I think it's just that roll on, isn't it? They started to lose that momentum, and then things swung very quickly. And the thing is, once they swing towards the Crusaders just know how to capitalize very quickly, and that's exactly what they did. But this also goes to show, like we asked the question last week, who do we have if you're an All Black selector? Like, this is why your Barrett is starting and D-Mac isn't. I mean, it doesn't matter what he did to get him to the game. It's what did you do in the championship, and he failed. So and that's how it is. And the All Blacks they're one of the very few teams in the world that get to be like, well, we don't need you. We're gonna play the guy that we know can perform in that situation. So I think the disappointing thing for me is between 30 and 60 minutes. I honestly thought the Chiefs were going to really roll home. I was like, holy, like I was very happy I put on a silly bet, because I was like, oh, show me the money.
Yeah.
But the problem is they just never capitalized them. D-Mac missed those goals. Stupid decisions. And all it takes is, 10 minutes and a Crusaders team to switch on and it's lights out. I'm still angry at D-Mac, if you haven't noticed.
Yeah, so there we go. I was wrong. Every Chiefs fan won't cut him a break, it turns out.
Hell no. And that guy better not be starting in the All Blacks, otherwise I'm changing my allegiance to the
Wallabies. Oh, man, come on. Why? You got to go that hard.
He needs to cut that mullet off. He needs to get back to his humble roots, mate. He needs to start doing
I think that's what brought him. That's what brought him all the power, though, was the mullet. It was the power of the mullet. Everyone was saying that.
No, he's fed into his own good in that week off. I mean, it wasn't good.
So I will say this is I do see your points in regards to this because, yeah, they just proved it on the weekend. But when it comes to the stats, it comes to Mackenzie over the whole Super Rugby Aotearoa, he had the best attacking kicks. He was the most accurate, and he was the best under those contestable high balls. Whereas other fullbacks, you've got Jordan as your best carrier and your best try finder, which is obviously what the Crusaders needed on the weekend. And you've obviously got Geordie Barrett, who is best at the territory kick. So I think when you look at all the stats on paper, Damien McKenzie probably looks like the better option at fullback, but I think you've got to go Will Jordan or Geordie Barrett in this point now if you're an All Black selector. But we're going to talk more about that. Yeah. I think when we get further down the line when we choose our Form 15, that'll probably be next weekend when we do that. But I want to talk about the Crusaders side because David Havili and Fainga Nuku for me were class personified in this matchup because if they don't get considered for at least the All Black squad in their centre positions for 12 and 13, they'd be crazy, especially with Nani Laumapi now heading overseas to start Francais, which is disappointing to see him go because I thought he was going to have a good role on this All Blacks Test series. But their forward pack also did a good job, and the Crusaders a great job of pushing a 14-man line out back with only their forwards. That was pretty interesting. But I do want to stay with the midfield conversation and talk to you guys about the All Blacks picture. Do you think they've now solved their problem in the midfield with this Crusaders midfield?
It's a good chance.
Yeah, I don't know if the 13 pushes his way in. I can't pronounce his name.
That's all right, man. We wanted to come anyway.
It's a mouthful for a white boy. Anyway, I think like the Mo'unga, Havili, Will Jordan, 10, 12, 15, I think that's your core.
Yep.
And they're the form players in all three of those positions. And those three guys have outstanding combinations. And you could maybe even throw Savu Reese on there. And you kind of have 4 of the Crusaders' 7 backline. And those guys are form, and those guys are have excellent combinations.
Because I wasn't really rating Sevu Reese at the start of the season. I didn't really think he was performing up to par, but you gave him a few games, and he's just been killing it. He had
he's been back into that form when he first sprung onto the All Blacks team. Yep. He's on fire right now, dude.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very competitive spot for the All Blacks, that wing spot, especially if you save one of those spots for Geordie Barrett because of his goal kicking. But mate, the comment, I think definitely the Mo'unga, Havili, Jordan 10, 12, 15. And then you have what you see a lot of is Will Jordan kind of shifting to wing, Mo'unga shifting to fullback when the other team is exiting. And you have like kicking to Mo'unga basically nullifies your kicking game because it's just a mistake. It's So every time kind of he fetches a kick, something really bad happens to the opposition. So that kind of influences maybe the makeup of the All Blacks back line if you have someone like him who can shift from 10 to fullback.
I think Mo'unga, especially on the counter-attack side, I think he probably has one of the best stop-start speeds I've ever seen in my life because he can approach a gain line and then basically go to a full stop and then out of nowhere look like he's Usain Bolt. It's insane. Oh, man.
He's powerful.
If you're the other team and you see Mo'unga at fullback, you've got to kick the ball 20 meters into the stands. So you've got to like shave a heap off of your kick. Make sure it goes out and make sure it goes all the way out.
So you can hedge your bets.
Because they quick line out and then you've still got Mo'unga in the midfield with a scattered defensive line. So,
it's ridiculous. Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's 100% right. I think too, the All Blacks, I read an article where Israel Dag's urging them not to go with the 2 playmaker role now and just saying choose your 10. I think the Crusaders have really solidified what happens when you have your 10 and then you've got a good 12 and a 15 that you can trust. And when that spine works, it's lights out.
Yeah. John Kerwin has echoed that because he says that he thinks that we should go away from the dual playmaker stuff and go back to specialists, like they did with Israel Dag and Ben Smith and those types of players.
Yeah, I totally.
So are we
agree.
saying that Havili is not a playmaker? He's not a traditional 10 second fly half.
No, I don't think so. I think. Oh, sorry, you go, Teach.
I think what they've now said, because he's played a lot at fullback for the Crusaders, and now he stepped into that center role. I think they're trying to instead of, I guess, rotating him like they have in the past, going like 10, 12, 15, and just like putting him to see where he fits. They want him to just stay in that 12 jersey and get him to grow around that, because once he's done that, you just see his game just continue to improve. It's not like, because he's played, I think, 10 for the Crusaders. I think I can't remember what he played for the All Blacks.
He played 15.
Yeah, every position he gets put in there, he's a great player. But I think they're just finding that with the lack of consistent centers, I think leaving in him, letting him grow in that position, they're able to utilize him a lot better.
And let's be honest, the All Blacks have gone through their centers like no tomorrow. There's been numerous center pairings for a very long time since they won the World Cup. So I thought I think he's playing pretty strong. And the other thing too is he's been in that system. He knows how to play his role right, no matter what position it is. So if you tell him this is what you're doing, it'd be interesting. Plus, if Richie's his 10, I mean, you can't a championship team with combinations is
All right, let's finish up and we'll talk about the coaching, because I think Clayton McMillan should be commended on what he has done this season after what the Chiefs had suffered last season. And although I'm a bit disappointed he's going to have to step into that assistant coaching role when Gats comes back, I'm glad he's going to be still in the organization. But the real story here is regarding the best breakdancer in rugby, and that's Razor Scott Robertson. So he's now won 5 titles in a row with the Crusaders in his first 5 seasons as a Super Rugby coach. Insane. And he now has an 85% success rate at least. So the question I do want to pose to you guys is, there's been a lot of great coaches in New Zealand. Is he the greatest coach New Zealand has ever seen?
Yeah, well, I mean, stats prove it, right? Numbers don't lie, bro.
I think the most successful coach New Zealand's ever seen. That's not saying the same as he's the greatest coach that New Zealand's ever seen.
Yeah.
As with anyone who's involved with the Crusaders, it's very hard to separate their success from the system. So if Razor goes down and takes over the Waratahs and they win a championship,
then
he
we
has
can
my
definitely
full
say
respect. He's the greatest coach. But right now, he's certainly an excellent coach, and lesser coaches can lose with that talent and that system. So he's doing a lot of things right and outstanding, but at the moment we kind of can't make I wouldn't make any big statements about him until we see him in some other context.
I think that's an excellent point, because I think a lot of people are saying that it's neck and neck between him and Robbie Deans just based on the amount of titles alone. And I think, considering what Razor has done in 5 years in a row as his first Super Rugby coach, I think it's definitely commendable. But you do make a good point. Is it the system or is it the coach? Is he able just to work the best with this system and just make it win? And I think also something to consider is that Robbie Deans won all his titles in Super Rugby when you had to play matches against teams from other countries. You had to play teams from Australia and South Africa and a lot of other things that went into playing in that old Super Rugby comp. You had to travel across like various different time zones. You had to judge off different countries, different playing styles, and prepare a lot differently than you would for a local derby. Yeah. So, yeah, James, I think you make an excellent point. I would love to see him go somewhere else and try and coach a different team. Well, I'm trying to push him out. I'm trying to see if he can go somewhere else, so that way the Crusaders get a new coach.
Rugby Union Australia, Rugby Australia used to throw $20 million at him.
That would be.
But we've done this before. Like the last 3 or 4 Kiwi coaches have come over with amazing Kiwi credentials, and they've struggled in the Australian system.
Well, I mean, yeah, because I said 20 million because they'd have to clean out their board of directors and anyone. Like if you're over 45, you're not allowed to work for Rugby Australia. Clean them out, and then bring the Kiwis. Watch what happens.
Yeah.
If I win $200 million, that's all I'm saying.
Oh my God! Well, Dave Rennie's still got a shot. He's still going hard.
Yeah,
we'll see how he goes. But we'll move on with that in mind, and we'll talk about Super Rugby AU finals because the Reds stole one in overtime to secure the victory against the Brumbies in the 85th minute. The Reds were the favourites heading into this contest, but for the first 25 minutes, they played very average. They coughed up possession, had to make twice as many tackles as the Brumbies. So what do you guys think? Was it finals jitters or was there a bigger issue in this match?
Mate, the number one team won, so it doesn't matter how you win, when you win. But number one team won, right? They proved that they are a championship team that play until that final whistle.
Yeah. I mean, that
is true. There's the concept of in sport of having the wood on another team. And I think the Reds have got the wood on the Brumbies at the moment as it's currently set up. And that's 3 matches this season. And I think the Reds have won all of them after the 80th minute.
I'm pretty sure you're right.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think
95% sure you're right.
Both of the regular season matches were very late Reds wins, and I think they were after the final bell, both of them.
Yeah.
So I think the Reds kind of had that, again, it's composure, it's kind of some confidence that if we're within a score and it's a final play of the match, you'll kind of do whatever it takes to get the score.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree with that.
But you're right. The Reds did not play good rugby that game. And they're like, you know what? You'd say it was luck, but they've done it twice before this season. So it's not luck. They actually dug deep and had the kahunas to stay composed and score. And I think Nella actually scored that try. And then just to be safe, they threw it out the back for O'Connor to get it. But I think, too, it goes to show the difference youth makes comparatively. And I say that, going into this season, we discussed the forward pack, and I just think that forward pack, they were too young a few years ago, and now they've all hit that right age where they're backing themselves mentally and physically and know how to keep calm and knowing when to work. And to be fair, for 70 minutes of that game, they weren't really working that well. But the 10 minutes, 14 minutes that counted, it paid off.
Yeah, I think some of the commentators mentioned it, and they said that it was a 10-point try because he got bloody close. I couldn't see it, but I definitely think he got over and he scored that. But looking forward to quickly,
that just goes to show how smart they were because they knew they didn't want the play to be reset, so they got that ball. Whoever got that ball back straight away, that is one of the smartest plays I've seen in rugby. You didn't want to wait for the referee. And they got that ball out knowing that they had him short on that side. So I think
the hold-up decision ends the game and you lose.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you don't force it. You've got to make sure the ball is still in play.
Yeah. And I actually, when he went over, I got excited and I was like, oh no, he's going to call this held up. And I genuinely was like, they're not going to win. So it was good to see just that. I think Rugby Australia, there's the difference between the Aotearoa and Australian Super Rugby comps is that those little real fine details. So I was pretty proud of the rugby IQ just to get the ball out, let's score that try just to make sure that was a fine piece of rugby play, I thought.
That would have been a terrible way to end a grand final. I would have been so disappointed if that happened. But when you look forward to the Trans-Tasman competition, the Reds have been considered favourites as well as the Crusaders and a couple of other sides. But like any other team, they have to deal with the injuries they incurred during the season. So I want to see from your guys' perspective, because I personally think they were really missing that attacking threat in the midfield. I thought they were quite lateral and they were getting caught on the edge a lot. They were really missing Hunter Paisami. So when you guys think about them heading into this Trans-Tasman competition, I know we've spoken about it before, but from their gameplay over the weekend, do you think that they still have a really good shot of winning this Trans-Tasman comp?
Not if they play like that.
So much of their okay.
No, you're right, James.
I think you're right. I think so much of their attack through the season has been O'Connor shifting to Paisami earlier, and Paisami being a playmaker, kind of on the edge, and either ball carrying or offloading or passing or kicking. And he was kind of the hub of their attack. And having him gone, I think their attack looked a little bit less organised and a little bit less creative.
Yeah, totally agree. I also think too, playing the Kiwi sides, I like the way Sorovi plays at 9 when he comes on, when he plays. He plays quite a faster, flatter game, and he likes that. He likes to sort of at least take the ball a step back or laterally just to try and suck in that A channel. Watching the Kiwi sides, they tend to rush that A channel a lot. So I think Sorovi could be a really good indicator to come on to give James O'Connor some time at 10, just so then if Paisami's out, he's just giving that little bit more time, because they're going to play Hamish Stewart, you'd assume. Just a little bit more time for him and Hamish Stewart to sort of set the tone of the backline a little bit. Nothing again, I've totally blanked on his name, who played on the weekend, but I think Sorovi at 9.
Oh, McDermott.
No, not McDermott. You're muted, G.
What is he? A Māori guy? Or Samoan?
Yeah.
He's quite young, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a young dude. But I mean, we're also going to see Vunivalu hopefully get some game time against the Kiwi sides too. So it'll be interesting.
Was he out due to injury, or was he out just for selection?
I'm pretty sure he wasn't selected.
Okay, yeah, because that'd be interesting to see him go up against some of the big boppers on the wings.
Well, I mean, you've seen the odds. The Reds who just won aren't even in the top 4 favorites to win the Trans-Tasman. So if you want to make some money, lads, let's go.
Yeah. Because none of my bets are panning out for this week, so I'm losing money. But the Brumbies, I think they're having a chat to them about how they finished with 13 players on the field, and they were in the lead until the final moments. Do you think that they would have won this game if they wouldn't have lost those 2 players?
I honestly don't think so, no.
Really?
Yeah. I just think the thing is the pressure cooker was put on and the Reds came through just because they had they needed to win. They had that momentum. And I just think that it wasn't like the Brumbies were playing brilliantly either. Do you know what I mean? Like you said, the Reds had twice the tackle count and it was still a really close game. So, it goes to show that the Reds definitely, of that stat alone, you have to say a bit fitter. And we're moving around the park still quite well there, which is knocking the ball on, making terrible they need to, forward passes. Do you know what I mean? I'm not sure that those 2 extra players would have made a difference. I honestly do think that too. That's not trying to be controversial. I genuinely think that.
What do you think, James?
I kind of the send-offs hurt. The cards I thought hurt, but I feel like the Reds basically were going to do what if they were within a score. I think the Reds were going to always do enough to get the final score. That was kind of the sense I had. It looked like there was going to be a few stoppages and the game was going to end a few times, but I also had some sort of confidence that the Reds were going to do enough.
Yeah.
No, I agree. What about the controversy of Nick Berry's refereeing? I actually thought he had a good game.
Yeah, I didn't think considering how many interesting referee performances we've seen this season, I'm pretty sure he's pretty low on the totem pole, bro. Like he did pretty well. I think he managed the game quite well. I didn't really see too many issues with his refereeing.
What are you, James?
Mate, I think he's regarded at the moment as Australia's best referee. He's overtaken Angus Gardner.
Angus Gardner.
Is Angus Gardner injured?
I just don't think I don't think he's available for these matches. I'm not sure why. But
anyway,
I'm
Nick
not
Berry
sure.
at the moment is considered Australia's best referee. He's often the fittest player on the field.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's for sure.
But something to be conscious of is, like, the referee, when people appoint referees, whoever makes these decisions, they often favour height. So there's an advantage to being tall and looking down on breakdowns and looking down on scrums. And Nick Berry is eye level at all the scrums. Yeah. And he's guessing on a lot of, I feel like he's guessing on a lot of scrum infringements. And he gets a little bit of criticism for not always getting scrum penalties right.
Well, that actually brings us into our last topic, which is about the production with Stan Sport, because this actually brings you couldn't have segued it even better, James. That's awesome. So yeah, so I think we've spoken about it multiple times. I believe Stan Sport has revitalized the viewership in Australia. James, you mentioned there's 41,000 people in attendance at this game at Suncorp Stadium and almost 500,000 viewers to watch this game, which is amazing for Australia. And I think one thing that you mentioned as well is that an innovative camera angle called the Spider Cam had a lot of Brumbies seething as there was a potential knock on in the final minute of the contest. And it's an angle that usually you don't really see in rugby. Like, you see it in a lot of NFL matches. You see it in some other sports if they have the money for it. But it's definitely not an angle that you see going around on a typical TMO decision or things like that. So I think things like that could pan out for Nick Berry. He doesn't have to look over the scrum. He can just go back to that camera angle. But I want to talk to you guys in regards to just Stan Sport in general. With their support and with their revolutionary way that they've been going about their broadcasts, has this revitalized or brought back a lot more attention for Super Rugby AU and for Australian rugby in general?
Yeah, man, they've done so well, bro. Like, you're talking a Super Rugby match being televised around the country the same time as the NRL game, prime time Saturday night. You know, like, Jiminy Jillikers, like, how good is that? They've done so well, man. It's beautiful to see.
Mm. And Stan Sport is obviously a subsidiary of Channel 9. And Channel 9 have been innovators and leaders in the way they produce the rugby league. And I think you'll find that Spider Cam first appeared in a rugby code in a state of origin about 8 or 10 years ago. So they've been using Spider Cam in rugby league, and I think it started with Origin. And Channel 9 have always been kind of leaders amongst the Southern Hemisphere in how they produce rugby or rugby league. And I think rugby was a bit of an afterthought to Fox Sports, especially in the last couple of years. So a new company freshening up how it looks, better production value, dare I say, better commentators.
100%.
Those are all good things that have kind of freshened up the viewership, I think.
Yeah, I think the one thing.
You go,
Hala. Just in regards to the commentators, I think too, it's made such a big difference, a fresh difference, to have commentators, and I think even to the point where you hear Sonny Bell interviewing some of the boys, and he's using his own native language of Samoan. Things like this can seem minute, but it's such a big and beautiful thing that's what we get to see with rugby. And, you know, rugby's played by so many people, literally so many countries around the world, that, you know, even those
male
little moments.
Male and female.
Male and female. Yeah. And being able to broadcast that and see it, I think, I think it's a wonderful thing. And you know what? I like Michael Chicken now. He's a great.
That's what I was going to mention. So, like, remember the first conversation we had is we were, I guess, intrigued about how he would go as a commentator. He's honestly top 2 in like Stan Sport. Like I like when I told you I went to that coaching conference and I listened to him talk after years of despising him because he was the Wallabies coach, and then you realize there's a reason why he has that job and he's a visionary, and then you hear him go on to the commentator side and you go, oh man, I'm going to be seriously wondering what the things that it's going to come out of his mouth, and it's just all quality. Like, he was just talking about the scrums last night and giving quality looks into what we should be looking at or what players should be doing and why this play broke down and giving a breakdown of everything. And that's when I used to think of when Fox Sports used to do it. They used to be like, this is what happened. Let's move on and talk about the next play. They didn't really break it down. They didn't give the viewer a real insight, which is something that I'm really enjoying. So I'm looking forward to them for the next few years. All right. Well, let's move on. We'll talk about our last bonus point segment, and that is regards to TJ Perenara. He's re-signing with the Hurricanes after – I still can't believe he went to the Red Hurricanes after being with the Hurricanes for years, and now he's back with the Hurricanes. Oh, my gosh. It's just too many.
The Yellow Hurricanes, you mean?
Yeah. What was it?
The Yellow Hurricanes.
Yeah, Yellow Hurricanes. And then he went to the red one. Now he's back with the yellow one. So yeah, who knows? But I personally am a bit disappointed he didn't give League a go because I kind of just wanted to see how he went. I thought with his playing style and his body type, his aggression, I thought he'd be the perfect person to give League a crack. Are you guys disappointed he didn't give League at least a season or two ago?
No, not for $150,000. Get out of here, man. If I'm TJ Perenara, you're paying me at least $400,000 to come to your coach, my G. You're one of the best players that has ever existed in rugby. I revolutionized how number 9s play. I'm a leader of one of the greatest rugby organizations of all time. I want $400,000. No, I'm happy to do it.
Mate, all the league chat to me sounded a little bit like negotiating through the media.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You get your manager to start some token conversations with the Roosters. There's the perception that the Roosters are cashed up and throwing money at everyone and disregard the salary cap. And suddenly the price to re-sign you with New Zealand Rugby probably goes up. And I don't know if it was a legitimate offer from the Roosters, but it sounded to me a little bit like negotiating through the media.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it against him. I mean, it's a smart way to go. I like it. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are saying that he's coming back to New Zealand for family reasons because obviously his wife and his kids are based in New Zealand, so that's obviously a big reason. But yeah, smart by him or his manager, who if that was the play. But let's talk about how he stacks up. How he stacks up in the rankings of the halfback. So obviously he hasn't been in New Zealand. He hasn't been playing rugby around in this competition. He's been playing over in Japan. But we have all agreed that he's been playing some pretty phenomenal rugby over in Japan. So just give it to him. Just is that simple?
That's it. Just give it to him. It is.
Not even consider Aaron Smith.
Nah.
Okay. Can you at least give me an insight why?
I'm just trying to get our numbers up, Jets. Come on now. Come on.
James, what are your thoughts while Huller backtracks and he gets his numbers in the row? What are your thoughts on it?
Mate, Aaron Smith is your number one, but you've got to kind of at such a key position, you need 3 guys who can play test quality and win you a game. And TJ Perenara falls into that. So he'd push into their top 3 halfbacks. And I've stumbled upon watching him play, just turning on Stan and a Japanese game comes on and he's dictating things and he's intimidating the referee and you can just hear him all over the commentators. And he's just very influential and very dominant and still playing good footy. And I think maybe this Japanese time spent in Japan maybe freshens him up for Kiwi rugby.
I reckon
I mean, definitely. That's not a bad point either. So I think what I'm trying to think of. Yeah, I think what I'm trying to think of now is who's going to be that third fiddle then. So I think we've still got Aaron Smith in the mix. Obviously, we've still got TJ Perenara. That's if he does play games with the Hurricanes, because you guys have to know that if he can't just walk in now into this Trans-Tasman comp. He's only there for injury cover. So unless one of the halfbacks get injured, he can't come in. So he might not even get a chance this season to play for the All Blacks if he can't get a Hurricane spot. But I want to ask you guys as who you think is third fiddle. So it was Brad Weber for a while. and I think he's playing some good footy. But you've obviously got the guys like Bryn Hall. You've got Mitch Drummond. You've got a few other guys around in the Blues, like your Finlay Christies and other guys and Jonathan Rurus, who are putting their hands up. But I don't know if they're able to be considered. Who do you guys think is the third fiddle?
I honestly think Brad Weber's still there, bro. Proven workhorse. He's donned the jersey, and he hasn't had a terrible season. But if you're looking towards the World Cup, you'd have to think Brent Hall's definitely got a very big stamp. Put his foot down this year, and we've discussed this, and I think Brent Hall is an All Black in the making. And this is the right time to do it, I suppose. This is, you got those 3 tests coming up. So maybe you just field a younger team with your key positions field and just see how it goes.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. I think if you're going to do it at any time, you got to do it now, because I think John Kerwin said it pretty well. Is if you got to get these guys at least a few tests, because you got to look down the road. You can't just look at it now, and especially with COVID and you're only going to have limited test matches this year. It's probably the best time. It's the All Blacks can suffer a couple of losses if it gets them some experience down the road that they can utilize for the World Cup.
I'd like to also say that I also want them to choose players that they have in mind for the World Cup and not do what they always do and choose players that take them out of their, the Fiji, Samoa, and Tongan contingent to play too. So that's not a dig. It's just definitely we've seen it happen before. So definitely players that they think they're going to play and possibly play, not just players that once they play, then they don't use again, and those players are now rendered useless for international rugby within that 3-year block.
Not a dig. What are you talking about? Of course.
I'm just saying, mate. I'm just saying some of the best players in the world are Tongan, and we can't use them at the moment for our World Cup squad. So, I'm just saying. We are the warehouse, my G. We are the warehouse, okay?
I love how you go off saying it's not a dig, and then as soon as I say one thing, you come out firing. Man.
Put some pride in, bro.
Classic Huller. All right, James, any final words, any insight on the halfback race, or do you think we're pretty well covered?
I always defer to you guys on Kiwi Rugby, but I think that the names you mentioned as the next best halfbacks are talented but unproven at test level. And I think that just highlights why TJ Perenara was brought back by New Zealand Rugby Union, and that was a priority for them. I think typically you pick 3 halfbacks and you pick 2 test quality halfbacks who are proven, and then you throw a young guy beneath that. And even if he doesn't get test caps, being around the test environment, being around the training camps is not quite as good as playing test matches, but it's something in terms of development.
Yeah, 100%.
So that would probably move toward giving Brad Weber a bit of a rest this year, and then going to try and get these guys a couple of tests, like your Mitch Drummonds or your Bryn Halls or one of your younger guys. So, I mean, that's interesting. We'll see how we go.
If Brad Weber's the same generation as Perenara and Smith, then he would have to outplay Perenara to get that 2nd spot, because you put a young guy beneath those.
I think Brad Weber is actually older than TJ Perenara, so I think that's something like, I think by just like a year or 2. But there you go. If TJ's outperforming and he's 1 or 2 years younger, then sorry, man.
Great season.
All right, well, great season. He had a great season. But we got a lot of still good rugby to look forward to. We got the Highlanders playing the Reds, Waratahs playing the Hurricanes, Crusaders taking on the Brumbies. Very excited to watch that match. Rebels and Blues, I'm very interested to see, just because there's so many variables there. The Rebels are like just hot and cold, and the Blues have been pretty hot and cold as well.
Rebels are a bit depleted too.
Yeah, so it'll be
a few players this week.
It'll be interesting. But the last game, Force versus Chiefs, I'm not looking forward to that at all, because the Chiefs basically have to fly to the UK to it's the same flying distance,
I'm
so they
telling
can
you,
go play the
the
fourth.
Chiefs are going to come out firing, and they're going to put a bit of a blow. I'm going 20 plus Chiefs on that one.
Oh man! And I thought I was
That's not me
optimistic
trying to be
last week.
cheeky. That's me being serious. I was like, I honestly think that I feel as soon as they lost, I was like, oh, that's a tough gig for Force next week.
Have the Chiefs found a goal kicker in the last 7 days?
Real funny, mate.
Oh my god!
Horsey. Look at him. He loved that too.
Wow. any
Mate, we don't need to kick goals, and we're outscoring them 10-1.
Yeah. Mate, I'm staying on the McKenzie bandwagon. I was on it early, and I'm staying on it.
Yeah.
They found a goal kicker. All right, guys. We're going to leave it there. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into our live stream. We'll be posting it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all your other podcasting services. Stay tuned for our Major League Rugby series as well that will be airing today. Gentlemen, any final words?
Up the Reds. Let's go, boys.
Up the Tars, I'll be watching live from the SCG. Looking forward to a bit of
because you're going to need it. You're going to be bent over.
Damn, no, you're going. Well, that's better than what any of us can do. We can't watch any Super Rugby live, so I'm jealous of that. But
we can, just not live. You know?
Yeah, just not in person. I guess we'll just have to stick with Major League Rugby. But all right, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Have a good week, and we will see you next week.
All right.